Welcome to Monthly Math Moment, the web series where we take a quick peek into the modern elementary classroom. I'm your host, Amanda McIntyre. In this series, we've been looking at math identity. Last time we were joined by some local teachers who told us that families could help. But how? Today, I'm joined by Carrie Wilson, the MSAD 60 math coach, who's going to help us explore just that. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you.
When you think back with your long relationship with math as a student, as a parent, as a middle school math teacher, and most recently as a math coach, when I say math identity, what's one story that comes to mind?
So last year I was working in a fifth grade classroom and I had a student who would consider herself really good at math. She would do things quickly, she would get things done quickly, and she would work through the problems, and she really considered herself good at math. She thought her math identity was wrapped up in being quick and being correct. However, when she struggled, she couldn't figure out how to get past that. She would get stuck. She would break down. Sometimes there would be tears. And so that was really hard for her because her math identity had been wrapped up in being quick and being correct. And that's what made her good at math.
What are some things that the adults in that situation did that had an impact on her, either good or bad?
Yeah, so her teacher definitely helped her by just letting her take a break when she got overwhelmed like that, letting her walk away and taking just a quick drink or getting a snack or just leaving it for a few minutes. But her teacher also always had her come back to it. And so she encouraged her by letting her know that she knew she could do it and not letting her give up, but also not letting her just quit. So that was really helpful. And as the math coach in the classroom, I really wanted to help her work through the struggle. And I really wanted to help her make that struggle productive, because when math comes easily for you and it's quick, it's not always going to be that case. And so she really got to a point where she needed to learn how to overcome that struggle, because mistakes are a part of learning and she was going to make mistakes no matter what. And so I would sit down with her and try to kind of catch her in the moment and try to give her some strategies to work through that struggle.
Nice. It sounds like all the adults kind of supported her in that.
Yes, we tried really hard.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed in our last episode that some of the teachers mentioned was about how the way we speak about math is really important to our students. And that seems to be supported by researchers like Jo Boaler and her work on how adults impact students' math identity. But when our child says something in the moment, sometimes it can be really hard to think of a positive way to respond that still honors their feelings. So I have a little challenge for you.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a few things that I have heard students say before, and I'm wondering if you could help us think of one way an adult could respond to that and kind of reflect and highlight on what is good about that, what helps the kids build a math identity that way.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here's a classic. First one is, I hate math.
Yeah, so as a parent, I would really want to know where those feelings are coming from. So I would want to first validate those feelings and say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but can you tell me why you hate math? Because if it's something that's just happening at home, I'd really want to know about that. If it's something that's happening at school, I'd also want to know about that. So I'd want to have the chance to have that conversation with them about why they are saying they hate math. If it's happening while I'm doing homework with them at home, I need to maybe take a break, take a step back. Let's get some fresh air together. Let's have a snack. But it's something that I really want them to like. And so as a parent, I would really want to try to figure out where those feelings are coming from. And if it is something that's happening across the board, I would reach out to my child's teacher and ask, how can I make math more enjoyable for my child?
All right, here's another classic that we've heard, I know both of us have heard a lot, is either I'm no good at math or this is too hard.
Yeah, so math, like everything else that you learn that's difficult, takes practice. So as a parent, I would say to my child, remember when you learned how to ride a bike or when you learned how to snowboard or ski? that took practice. You didn't get it on the first try. And so I think it's really important that we realize that math, along with other things, does take practice. And so learning something difficult takes practice. And so I would want to encourage my child to continue to practice, and I would want to practice with them so that they could hopefully change their feelings about math being too difficult and math being too hard.
So it sounds like you would really encourage them to do more math instead of backing away from it.
Yes, in some ways I would encourage them to do more math, but the math that I'm thinking about isn't just memorizing and practicing the same problems over and over again. I think that math is so much more.
All right, so this last one I'm going to give you is one that I've heard some of our older students say, upper elementary. I'm sure in middle school you've heard this one too. I'm never going to use this.
Oh, that's definitely the one that I've heard the most in middle school. So in 8th grade, that's pretty popular. How am I ever going to use this in real life? Or I'm never going to use this. So the thing about math is it's everywhere. Math is just an organized way of looking at our world. And so trying to get my students to realize that is something that I've always tried. So as a parent, I would really encourage you to help them use their math eyes to look at the world mathematically, to look for patterns, to play with numbers and do things like that, because math is something that's everywhere. Also in math, we really try to teach our students critical thinking. And so we are trying to help them to look at a problem from different perspectives. And that's something we want them to be able to do in life, is to be able to look at a problem from different perspectives. And that's definitely what we're teaching them through math. So although they might not necessarily use that exact skill they're learning on that exact day, the overarching concept of critical thinking and looking at patterns and organization and things like that is super important.
Nice. So there are lots of little things that we can do. We can change the way we talk to our children. Can you think of any specific skills or activities that families could work on to help promote a positive math identity?
Yeah, so the first thing I would suggest is not to push your math anxiety onto your student. So if you were challenged by math as a child, don't discourage your children from their math. Help them to learn to enjoy math. Like I said, use your math eyes. So looking at the world with math eyes, play with numbers, look for patterns, things like that. I think that's a lot of fun. It's something you can do as a family. And when you converse with them about math, don't bring your own anxiety and stress into that conversation. And one thing that I think that all families can do is to play games with their children. So playing games has so much math in it. There's so much strategy involved in games. There's so many math skills, not even just arithmetic, but probability and estimation and visual and spatial reasoning. So playing games with your kiddos is a great way to encourage their mathematical thinking.
Are there any specific resources that you might recommend for a family that's just looking to get started on some of these things?
Oh yeah, definitely. So there's 2 resources that I always recommend to families. The first one is called Bedtime Math, and the second one is called Math Before Bed. And both of these websites are websites that encourage a mathematical conversation, and they have like a daily image or a daily question that really encourages math talk and helps you to look at math a little differently. And so those are 2 websites that I would definitely think that math families could look at. And they have different levels of questions for different ages of kiddos. And then there's a couple of other sites that we use in the classroom that students really seem to like. So one of them is the Daily Nerdle. And so the Daily Nerdle is like the Daily Wordle, except it's with math. So we're looking at numbers, we're looking at equations, and they're all different levels. So you can go from the mini Nerdle all the way to the expert Nerdle. And those are a lot of fun for all ages. And then the other one that we really like, especially in the classroom, is the Daily Set Puzzle. And the set puzzle can also be found in a game. It's also a card game. And it's really a visual reasoning game. And the kids, I'd say 3rd grade and up especially, they really, really like that game. And so the Daily Set Puzzle changes every day. And it's something that I would definitely say would be a lot of fun to do as a family.
That's something that you introduced me to, was the set puzzles. And I love how you don't have to really know your numbers or calculations. It's all visual.
Yes.
So really any age group can access it and be challenged by it.
Yes. And it has a timer so you can try to beat your time too.
Yes.
It's a little challenging.
Nice. So if you would like to learn more or access any of the resources that Carrie just mentioned, be sure to take a look at the description of this video below. With that, this is kind of our last bit of our discussion on math identity. But don't worry, we're going to have many more math moments together. Before I plan our next series, I'm interested in hearing from you. If you have any questions or topics you would like covered in our monthly math moment, comment on this video below and you might see it in our next series. Until then, thank you for tuning in to this month's math moment.